hilariously silly. So now with sound, in addition to video, welcome to another edition of Community Conversations. Maybe that was like a practice run. All right, so I'll be a little more succinct this time. This is a series of conversations with folks from the Label Studio community and the wider ML Ops community. I realized very quickly that we have a really awesome community filled with people from all over the world working on very different, very interesting, very, in some cases, inspiring, in many cases, innovative projects where they're using Label Studio to annotate their data. And I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of them, and we're trying to surface some of the more interesting folks, such as Aaron, to the broader community and even outside our community via this series of conversations. These are meant as non-technical conversations. We will get into Label Studio usage, but it's mostly a profile on Aaron, what he does, how he got involved with the community, what he uses Label Studio for, some of the interesting things that he works on, to give you a bit of a flavor of some of the more interesting and more active folks in our community. And we're always looking for more people to interview. So if you think that you've got a great story and you'd like to be part of this, please feel free to reach out to me on our Slack, which, by the way, you can join here at the bottom. You can also submit questions here. I've got my list of questions for Aaron, but if you have some burning ones as we go along, feel free to submit them. We'll be doing Q&A throughout. That's essentially the entire format. All right, so let's start with some housekeeping and intros once again with sound. I just can't believe I was on mute that whole time. So yeah, join our Label Studio community Slack if you haven't already. Even if you're not going to submit questions, it's where you can get all of the information on the latest happenings first before it makes it into a newsletter, into a webinar, or anything else, into a blog post. It's definitely where you want to be. It's where Aaron is. And so here's a bit of housekeeping. So for those of you who didn't know, Label Studio 1.1 is out. This is a big update with a lot of oft-requested features and bug fixes. Maybe a couple of bugs were introduced that are new and interesting. Maybe not. Of course, that never happens, right? But yeah, this is a big update. The team is really proud of it. They worked extremely hard on it. I was witness to the crunch. Everyone was very, very heads down, working extremely hard on it. So please do check it out if you haven't already. We also just started a monthly Label Studio newsletter. Basically, it's going to be a succinct recap of all the latest happenings that you will have seen come through in announcements and blog posts and webinars. It'll recap tutorials, release info, and featured community content such as the below great article on Towards Data Science that Aaron produced. And if you've got content related to Label Studio and the wider MLOps community that you think we should highlight, we're happy to. We'd love to do that. So feel free to, again, reach out to me on our Label Studio Slack community for details there. You can check out Aaron's article here in the Spitly or over in our announcements channel on the Label Studio Slack community for the link. So I think that's all I have, Aaron. In terms of announcements, I'd like to start the interview, presuming that you can hear me. I'll stop sharing. And we'll try this once again. So Aaron, nice to see you. Where in the world did we catch you?
I'm in Atlantic, Florida.
Okay, awesome. So East Coast. Are you? How's Elsa treating you? Are you in an area where?
It hasn't hit yet, but the weather's behaving pretty weird, swirling.
Yeah.
storms,
Yeah. Well,
but it keeps missing us.
It's really crazy. I keep interviewing people in crisis zones when crises are happening. This is a trend I need to break.
I wouldn't exactly call this a crisis.
Fair enough. All right. Yeah, I know you're used to it there, right? So yeah, if you want to, would you just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and we can kind of start there.
Sure. So I'm for about 5 years, I worked at a company called Sentient Science, which was doing predictive maintenance on wind turbines. And so we were telling wind turbine owners when they needed to replace certain aspects of their wind turbines, specifically like the drivetrain, the gearbox, and the main bearings, and sort of set up a big machine learning analytics system to do all that. And I left there in COVID, like April of 2020, and started working a lot on computer vision use cases. I had been using computer vision sort of on the side for a couple of years as that technology sort of became amazing, I guess. And worked with pose estimation and like segmentation, and was just sort of blown away. I came into it through fast AI, which is kind of I think common, not as common as it should be, I guess, path, because I just love Jeremy Howard and his stuff, and I'm a believer. So I'm active in that community too. And I came into Label Studio because I was working with some guys at Pachyderm, which is another MLOps startup.
Yep.
I was generally sort of becoming more aware because I had fought MLOps problems, like the high interest credit card debt of machine learning paper. Like I read that and was like, wow, see, this is as hard as I said it was. It's not just me. And but I didn't like when I was in my job, I didn't have enough time really. I was constantly sort of just building the next thing, or didn't have time specifically laid out to explore like the ecosystem. And also, like this is new. So like maybe labeling has been around a little bit, like the labeling platforms were maybe some of the first ones, but stuff like weights and biases became, and then, a whole, hundreds of companies.
Fast evolving.
So I became interested in, so I mapped out sort of the MLOps. I have a huge list of MLOps companies and tons of attributes and capabilities that I cared about, and labeling was one of them. And so when I, went to build, I have kind of a pretty ambitious project of my own in building recommendation system, I guess similar to TikTok. And so when I went to go build that, went looking for a labeler, and I was talking to the Pachyderm guys, and they were like, "Oh, you should check out Label Studio." And then
thank you, Pachyderm. They were actually the first webinar we did.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they're great. And so I 10 minutes in a Docker run later, I was using Label Studio. So I was I'm a happy customer.
Awesome. Glad to hear
easy. It's awesome.
I don't want people watching to think this is all just patting us on the back. I mean, you've done an even greater service in that you've given us really critical feedback, right? I think you did a UX testing session on a new version. What was it, a month or so ago? So all feedback is very helpful, especially constructive feedback when there's stuff we can do better. So I just wanted to put that out there as something that you've helped with. So you started using Label Studio by recommendation of Pachyderm. Awesome. And so when you first were using it, what kinds of data were you labeling? Was it CV stuff, or was it like more like what you were doing with the wind turbine project?
No, it was, so what we wanted to do was sort of understand what's going on in images. And the first use case was looking at identifying picture frames in the background of people's videos. So we were trying to replace the art on people's walls, which is a really common, neither you or I have this on this video, but like it's a really common thing to have to set up your video chat in a way that you have your art, your favorite piece of art behind you, or your family pictures.
Things that make you look smart or interesting, or like people should care about you. Yeah, absolutely. Right.
So in that vein, we were thinking like, oh, these people collecting these digital art, the new, the NFT digital art, they have nowhere to show it off. So, but they're digital. So it'd be cool if we could replace the pictures in their picture frames with their NFTs and sort of cycle them, and then maybe come up with a way to monetize that.
That's brilliant. I mean, my mind immediately went to the dystopian side of things, where it's like replace it with ads.
Yeah, right. Well,
Like,
you know,
replace my
there's
family
companies
photo
doing
with an
that.
ad.
Yeah. No, there's
Are
companies
there
doing
really?
that.
Oh man.
Yeah, yeah.
Zoom, please don't be listening in on this call. Anyway, that sounds like the future, to be honest. But I love the NFTs idea. That's really cool. What, if you can talk about it, are you still working on that? What happened with that idea?
Yeah, so we're so we were streaming. It was a streaming use case in the beginning. We were talking about, you know, maybe we integrate it with Twitch, we can integrate it with Zoom. It'll give, like, if you're an NBA Top Shots collector, the big question is, what is an NBA Top Shot? You know, it's this sort of amazing, it's this sort of amazing thing. They've replaced basketball trading cards that I did when I was growing up with these digital sort of movies of, like, the, you know, LeBron dunking, and they've got this whole sort of economy that they've built around it, like a marketplace and everything, using non-fungible tokens. And it's really, you know, it's kind of a fun, cool thing. It's gotten quite a bit of traction, but the problem is that it's all in their website. It's, you know, you go to Top Shots and sharing it kind of sucks. And so we were thinking, okay, the first thing we could do is, like, take those people's Top Shots and put it in their Zoom background, just so they could share it with their friends or whatever. Like, they're on a call.
That's awesome.
And
you just gave probably the best explanation of NFTs I've ever heard. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
All it is digital art, I think. But, and I'm happy. You know. So
do you have any NFTs?
Me, yeah, sure.
Yeah. What do you think about them? What do you do with them? To your point.
I think they're cool technologically. I'm interested in the different platforms. So a lot of what I do is purchase, like, CryptoKitties or the affordable things.
Nice. Yeah.
I actually don't have a huge expectation. I don't have a huge opinion about whether the NFTs will increase or decrease in value in the future as, like, holding them as assets. But I own a bunch from the different products that have integrated them just as testing.
Yeah, you got your finger on the pulse. Sounds like very cool.
Yeah. Well, I guess your CTO is also interested in NFTs. We talked about that a little.
Nikolai is?
Yeah.
I got to talk to him about that. Yeah, I just, it's fascinating to me. I can't read the tea leaves on that one. That's something where I'm just kind of like, I have no idea. Is this going to be a thing? Is it going to stick around? Is it going to, you know, go away and be a blip? I don't know. Is this going to be like MySpace? I don't know.
We're kind of off topic with labeling, but, like, you know, a little bit of it is, I think, a little bit of FOMO on my side. Like, I missed out on Bitcoin in 2012. I was sitting next to a guy that was working at Coinbase, and I was like, this is like, I'm not, there's no chance. It's like, I should have put $100 into Bitcoin in 2012. That would have been a good thing to do.
Yeah, anyone in tech has probably had moments like that with Bitcoin and other crypto like Ethereum. All right, so back to labeling. So I guess with respect to that sort of idea of NFTs and replacing, so you were extracting keyframes and trying to understand and basically classify picture frames, right? And then what were you doing? I mean, maybe this is tangentially related to labeling and more machine learning model related, but how were you replacing the content of the frames? Like, what was the system behind that?
Yeah, so identifying various interesting regions. So, like, picture frames is one. So, like, it's not the frame itself, but you want to identify the region inside the frame that is the visible image, the picture. And or like a lot of NFTs are also videos, and maybe like some of them are 3D, like a Pokemon dancing or something like that. And maybe you would want to render that, like, on the couch behind some Twitch streamer or something. Like, I don't know. We had like a whole bunch of ideas. We've since pivoted. We've moved away from that because I couldn't. It didn't make sense to me, like, how to actually turn that into a product that people actually cared about, other than just sort of like, this is fun. But now we're looking into, like, TikTok, like, viral video system. So the it's a computer vision, sort of like everything, right? Like extracting information, anything interesting that could be happening in the video. So, it'll be, it's like bounding boxes, basically like identifying our use case is specifically sports. So it's like, is it a football? Is it a baseball? Is it a these things help classify like what kind of sport, or and that's one key category. Like maybe I, as the consumer of the content, I only care about tennis, or I really am like a super fan in tennis, and I really care about Roger Federer, so I want to see like videos for Roger Federer, so that's the kind of
very cool
thing.
Okay, what would you say is the most sort of out there usage of Label Studio you've done? I know that you have lots of different projects and wear many different hats, so I figure that's an interesting question for you specifically.
No, I mean, I did Label Studio, for this computer vision use case, which is the segment, it was a segmentation model, and I think just getting Label Studio up fast, that was sort of amazing. Like that it was just a Docker install. It worked. My environment was actually not that unusual. I mean, I think a lot of teams that are building prototypes are doing them on Lambda machines or some homegrown sort of GPU server that they can use without paying Amazon. But that was my situation, and so I had sudo access, and I just like went in and installed everything and pushed the server to my local machine. So that was cool, and then the other key piece was just like integrating, like as the labels change, making sure that the latest labels get into my training bench. My Jupyter note, for me, I love Jupyter. So it's like Jupyter Notebook server is running on that same machine, and it's pushing a notebook instance to my laptop. And so making sure that when I hit, train, when I run my training script or whatever, it gets the latest labels sort of in the right way. And I think my experience with other labeling stuff is constantly growing because I have other customers and these sorts of things in my day job. Label Studio does those two things. It's sort of like, just the basics, that's what I mean. That's what I think Label Studio is good.
Awesome. So with respect to maybe new users who might be watching this, what would be your advice when starting to use Label Studio? Like if you could tell yourself when you first started to avoid extra work or redundancy or something, or just best practices that you want to share.
Yeah, I think get on the Slack channel when you're starting and post, because the Slack channel was super responsive. A lot of time, probably like within an hour or something, someone on the dev team will have responded to you. And so if you're fighting an issue, or even if you're curious about the best way to do something, or whether something exists that you just don't know about, it's instead of pouring through the documentation or whatever, just get on the Slack channel and post a question, and somebody who knows the code base will be able to tell you.
Awesome. I swear I didn't feed him that answer beforehand. I promise.
No.
So, all right, let's talk more about you. So, what all do you do? I mean, you wear a lot of different hats. I know you're very active online. You produce content that's popular on Towards Data Science and other publications. So, maybe can you talk a little bit more about all that you do?
Yeah. So I have a bunch of side projects, I guess, that we've discussed, mainly in computer vision and recommendation systems. Those are sort of what's creating the blogs, because it's hard to blog about, this is the problem with releasing articles. You have to own the content and you have to be able to talk about the use cases sort of in detail. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's like, and this is why a lot of blog
So either I'm frozen or Aaron is. Either way, suboptimal. Let me just check. Maybe he'll come back in a moment, and I'll vamp in case I am not frozen. If someone can just, in the live stream chat, let me know if I'm frozen or not, or in the webinars chat, either way. Yeah, seems like Aaron is frozen and I'm not. Hopefully that is not an Elsa-related development. Hurricane Elsa, that is. Well, oh, hang on. I think he's rejoining. Yeah, that sounds like it's Aaron. Aaron, do we have you back? Thank you. Getting word to okay. Hey, hello.
Yeah, sorry.
New angle.
Yeah,
all good.
I switched to my phone. I mean, constant problems. It's the simple things.
Yeah. So I was saying, I hope it's not Elsa related, like Wi-Fi got knocked out or something. Sounds like not. Good.
No.
So you were saying?
Yeah. So the blogging stuff is all from my side projects. And then I have a day job as a machine learning systems consultant.
Wow.
And, those things are sort of, I've been working with a company called Hop Labs, which is it's run by a guy named Ankur Kalra, who's, I'm new, but I'm new working with them, but like, it's been an awesome experience. These guys are amazing, actually. It's a really strong team.
Awesome.
Doing really interesting projects sort of across the spectrum of machine learning implementations that you read about, or, that sort of the common ones and some uncommon ones.
Awesome. Okay. Wow. How are you? Okay. Here's just a question I had. I often wonder, folks like yourself that just are working on a lot of different things simultaneously. How do you organize all that? How are you so productive? That's really the question. Are you just good at context switching? You have a bunch of spreadsheets? Like, how do you do it? Is there a machine learning algorithm in your life
spreadsheets
that organizes it for you?
No. Actually, I have like a life satisfaction metric related to spreadsheets. Is like the fewer spreadsheets I have to interact with, the happier I am.
Don't tell our CEO that, who's probably watching this. That's funny.
I think
Mr.
there's certain things they're good with, but like what I'm doing, not really. So I don't know. It's a struggle. I think some things are harder. We were just having a conversation about, what do you do when you have like 10 like credentials for every, for all like Amazon and for GitHub and it's like, how do you it's like, this is the stuff that's like really difficult. We're like building these, ridiculous systems, AI systems, that have cutting edge math, in them and testing that, but we can't even log, like it's logging into GitHub is the problem,
Right. Yeah. That sounds like the next problem to bend our industry towards, maybe. Although, you know what? That's probably a terrible idea. But who knows?
But
I always go dystopian now when I think about it.
I think the ML ops answer is, though, that I'm trying to write less code and use it from other places as much as I possibly can. And sometimes that comes from the two main things are like ML ops. Yeah, it's been great to test these platforms. Some are farther along than others. So you kind of have to be open-minded and sort of expecting that you're going to have rough edges with that. But also for me, it's like learning more about like Python, like built-in Python functionality, sort of a lot. They've thought about a lot of stuff. So just, leveraging the existing code as much as I possibly can.
I'll just ask one more question since you mentioned Python, and this is something that I've been reading about a lot. In your view, is Python the future of data science? Like the language of choice for the future of data science? Or is it just kind of like the duct tape for now?
Oh, I don't know. These things, once
Probably
you
a
have like a
reductive
network,
question, but
I don't know about Python in particular, but I mean, I think once something has a network effect around it, it's really hard to
hard to stop it.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to take sort of like a bottom up change.
Yeah.
Because there's so much, and there, it used to be like,
and it's so usable and extensible.
Well, there were gaps, maybe vulnerabilities to the network effect, like, time series models weren't so, it wasn't so great with time series models. But now, with Pi Carre, like he's kind of like just, he's killed that, and then I'm working with other projects like, microprediction.org, and like they saw that and they were, but when they went to choose their solution language, like what they were, it was Python, because that's where all the activity is.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah. Genie's kind of out of the bottle there a little bit. All right. Well, look, I would love to just sort of wrap up with you sharing anything you want to share, and then I'll just throw up a final slide or two, and we can wrap this up. And how can people reach you? What's the best way to find you? LinkedIn, just look you up.
Yeah.
Check you out on Slack. What was it? Yeah. LinkedIn. All right. Awesome.
Reach out. You can reach me through Label Studios Slack. You can reach me through email, and I can give Michael my email. And if anybody's interested in building a TikTok, if anybody's interested in building a TikTok similar recommendation system as like a fun project, let me know, because it's pretty ambitious.
Awesome. That's exciting. Yeah. When you said that, I wanted to dig in, but I didn't want to like completely go down a rabbit hole. That's did you want to mention anything else about that? No, that's really cool. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron, for your time. This was a late edition. Aaron joined us because we had some folks back out, and I've been wanting to get you in this series anyway. So thank you for your time today. Thanks for dealing with technological issues on my end as well as yours. I think this is a lot of fun, and it'll help a lot of people. So thanks again. Let me share this last screen, and we can wrap up. All right, so boom, done. In case anybody wants to know Aaron's name spelling, in case you want to look him up either on our Slack community, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, or wherever else. And thanks everyone for your time. Thank you, Aaron. Have a great day.
Bye.